I am Eytan Gilboa, communication and of University in Israel. I am a political scientist and an expert on international communication, working on Israeli politics, American politics and foreign policy, and American relations. Conflicts are always resolved one another. In international, we have the chances of a conflict to be resolved. This ripeness means sides conflict, or even if there are more sides, conclude that the only way to conflict is by means, by violence. They also have to recognize, in order to reach an agreement, both sides have a compromise. You can't get all that. If you insist all that you want, there would be no resolution and no agreement. Also, it's very important to have third parties, times helping sides who find it difficult to negotiation. But third parties cannot dictate the results of the negotiations. They can help to start negotiations, but then should for direct negotiations between the Israeli-Palestinian case. There are too many problems related to the nature of conflict. It's not just territory. We know now it's much more than that. It's a certain religion, it is culture, politics, and it's history. And ignore those. It's just withdrawal, Palestinian state, and then you have peace. See, this is not working. We have a good example of peace in Israel and Egypt that has lasted since 1979. It's not agreement. I would have expected to have more people contact, have more tourism, trade, yes, but this is much better conflict and violence. So I assume that even if an agreement with the Palestinians, then it look like the peace and not necessarily like of agreements we have between the Germans, the French, World War II. A lot of respect for any religion, including the problem is not Islam. The problem is with political interpretations and manipulations of Islam for purposes for religion. When political Islam is plans, obviously this is not something that you find recommendations for in the Holy Scriptures. So I think that there is a lot of potential for good relations between Islamic countries and Israel. Right? People think that me Arab, but they're all Muslim, not Arab. The biggest Muslim country is Indonesia. Turkey is Muslim, but not an Arab country. So I think that in the West we see too many generalizations about Islam, and I think the tragedy is that people refer to Islam as political Islam, and to those movements are abusing religion for political purposes. I think that Turkish-Israeli relations has been very important for achieving stability and progress for both countries. I've always advocated very strong relationship between two powers in the Middle East. The influence Middle Israel, even affairs. Israel is strong militarily. It is one of the most successful high-tech countries. It's a start-up nation, small nation, but big achievements. And if you look now at the Middle East, in view of what is called Arab Spring, because it's moving into a different period. Look at the last week, civil war, tremendous violence, like what, 70,000 people killed. With Libya, where the only civil war, Egypt with much violence, cases, and so the Arab revolution have occurred. It's completely chaos. Economic situations is a big disaster. If you look at Israel, the economy has not been that much affected by the same issue. I have to tell you that if I look at in Israel, it has affected. Trade is in very good condition, and I think it's important. So you know, we also know that people and opinion level, especially the more fundamentalists, don't like a good strategic, economic, and Israel. But I will that, and I elite journalists, and also who have very much relationship. Turkey is a stable country, both economically, financially, same thing. So if you connect the two, you will get significant joint influence that would help to stabilize the entire area. We know the Turkish some role in promoting Israeli-Syrian negotiations. It has not produced real negotiations. Potential is right there. In order for Turkey to be a mediator, has to repair with Israel and to achieve a level of trust. Israeli leaders would permit Turkey to be a mediator. I have thought in the past that Turkey could be a very good mediator because of its presence in the region, its understanding of the region, its good relations with all of groups. But the potential is conditions have to be created in order to make that potential realistic. The basic interests are there, and Turkey shares the economic, political, as well as spiritual. And I think that spiritual is always important because it provides like a large components, relationship and cooperation in obviously a major challenge to both Israel and Turkey. Israel has a border with Syria, Turkey has a border with Syria, Lebanon has a border with Syria, Syria has also Iran, so everything key country, and the more strategic is Syria, because war is not going to settle soon, and if the government would publish, hope would not be made just of radical groups. There are many radical fundamentalist violent groups fighting the government of Bashar Assad. Would be the major components of a government, if there is. So obviously the joint interest would that a government would be able, but also not violating, becoming a source of new terrorism against its own neighbors. I think that this is a missing component in the discourse that we have about Islam. Unfortunately, what instead and terrorist organizations don't accept, such as Hamas and Hezbollah are using the jihad, at least interpretations are the opposite of violence. Yeah. A holy war that you have all the and they don't recognize any rights of any. The same is true. And my that somehow these organizations, which at the margins of society, become dominant and they dictate policy and national security behavior. If you look at Gaza, we really see a ruthless, cruel, violent regime that not only hates Israel, are anti-Semitic, and use terror against, they also terrorize their own people. There is no measure of any democracy. People are afraid to speak. All the communication, all the media are tightly controlled. If you disagree, you would be problems. I'm asking myself if Hamas, Fatah cannot be between them and can negotiate anything, how they could negotiate with Israel. I'm always looking at them, say, I want to see how they compromise. They can settle differences. This has not yet achieved. Could have a better chance to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian. See that in many places where radical Islam got together with socialism, we call it the Red-Green Alliance. It has produced only this also. We see how the radical left has joined forces with Islamists, with radical Islamists. This is a bad message so to Europe. This is, I never understood how these two, the left, radical Islam, because radical left, for example, has other about rights, respect. I believe that media, okay, are very significant factor in education of the masses, of the people. I completely have reservations about the role Al Jazeera is playing in the Al Jazeera Arabic. Too much in the 10 years took the side of who has been very popular, and I think they have been somewhat successful in washing the ordinary citizens in many Arab countries adopt the of political Islam. This has to be changed by television network. Very important. We talk about blogs and exchanges between people to people, create a new public sphere for people who believe, like you have just suggested earlier, if that it should be practiced in a more moderate way, looking for reconciliation, understanding, unity. That, yeah. But others are doing exactly the opposite. So against network, we have to use a counter network, a network that would do exactly things that you were talking about.